Hey guys, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Wandering Soul Food Vlog. Today's recipe is stuffed eggplant. It's also called brinjal in some countries, but we used to calling it eggplant. It's a very good recipe, nice and easy recipe. I was thinking of doing something vegetarian because I feel like we eat too much meat, so I'm trying to introduce some vegetarian recipes in my diet and my family's diet, so we can stay on top of the veggie goal as well. Let's get into the recipe. So to start with, we need desiccated coconut, half cup of desiccated coconut. You can also use fresh coconut if that's what you prefer and if that's what's easy for you to find, but desiccated coconut is what I prefer for this recipe. 3/4 cups of raw peanuts. These are not roasted, like we are going to roast them later on in the recipe. If you can't find raw, just get roasted, that's fine, but the preference is raw peanuts. Go white sesame seeds. You need 1/4 cup of sesame seeds. I've put sesame seeds and the desiccated coconut together because they roast take roughly around the same time to roast, whereas the peanuts take a little bit longer, so I've just put it separately. I did mix the desiccated coconut and the sesame seeds just so it's easier to roast later on. Now I'm going to put all the spices together in one bowl so it's easier for us later on. I've got 1 teaspoon of salt there, or salt to taste, but start with 1 teaspoon. It's always better to add later if we need to. And we have 1 teaspoon of cumin seeds. And then we'll move to 1/4 teaspoon of fenugreek seed. This is methi. I'm pretty sure it's called methi, but fenugreek seeds. 2 teaspoon of coriander seeds. Now I had powder of all of this as well, but since I'm going to grind it, I thought it'll be a good idea to grind all the spices and get some nice flavor out of them. 1 teaspoon of fennel seeds. This is saunf, and then 1/2 teaspoon of garam masala. I'm just putting it in there, even though it's powder, just to make it easier for us later on. 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, even less than 1/4 teaspoon, just for the color. It gives really nice yellow color and it's good for our health. 1/2 teaspoon of red chili powder, or you can put more if you prefer it hot, but 1/2 teaspoon works very well for my family. Go 1 teaspoon of dried mango powder. I'm starting with 1 teaspoon of dried mango powder. This is what makes it a bit sour. You can add lemon later on, but it's always good to start with a small amount. And 1 teaspoon of sugar goes in there. That's pretty much all the spices that we need. It's a good idea to like mix them together, so like, you know, we're not struggling towards, like when we are cooking, we're not struggling trying to look for them. For veggies, we need 3 big eggplants, 3 tomatoes, 1 onion, some coriander, and green chili, fresh green chili. I ended up putting just 1, but I do have 2 there. It depends on your taste. I've nicely chopped the onions and cut the tomatoes in half and give them a small cut. Now for the eggplant, we need to cut them through the middle but not separate them. Now I couldn't find the small eggplants. I prefer to do this recipe with smaller eggplants, but if you get caught in the same problem, you can like just cut them in half. You don't really need to stuff the eggplant because we make a curry, like we make a sauce of it anyway, so you could just, like, you know, not stuff them, cut them in half and put them on top of the curry that we make. but this is the right way to do it. Now I'm dry roasting the peanuts. I'll dry roast the peanuts for a little bit, for a minute, on medium to high heat, or medium heat, unless until I'll just dry roast it until it gives me nice fragrance. I do push the spatula. I push the peanuts, like I press onto the peanuts with the spatula just to give it a nice roast. Now once I can smell the fragrance of peanuts, I add the desiccated coconut and the sesame seeds. I must say the sesame seeds take over in terms of the aroma. It was amazing when I was cooking this recipe that different fragrances, like different things give different very distinct aroma. Now all the spices that we had put in the bowl, all of them go in there, so we'll just dry roast these spices as well to enhance the flavors of this recipe. I continuously just press all the ingredients down to give it, to increase the surface area that it touches the pan, to give it a nice roast. Now it was amazing, like after I put the spices, the aroma of the aroma changes once again, but once it's slightly once it's all roasted, we just put it into the coffee grinder and just give it a good grind all of those that whole mixture of peanuts, desiccated coconut, sesame seeds, and all the spices that we had put together. Now this is ready. You stuff the eggplants with that spice powder, or with the powder that we've just put together. You can slightly wet the eggplants from the inside so the masala sticks to it, right? But we are going to end up using this masala to use this powder to make the sauce anyway. So, like, you know, regardless, the eggplant will have distinct amount of this flavor. So I'm just going to take all three of my eggplants and stuff them with that powder that we've just dry roasted and turned into a powder. This is a very easy recipe. It took me about 40 minutes to prepare all of this. I must say, I was thinking it'll take me it'll take me lesser than 40 minutes, but the preparation, like, it did take me some time to prepare the ingredients and put it all together. Now I've got half a cup of oil there. You can put oil to your liking. You can put a cup or half a cup of oil and shallow fry your eggplants in that oil. I'm just going to shallow fry one side and put the lid on and let it fry and de-shape from one side, and turn it to the other side to de-shape it from the other side as well. It is very important that the eggplant is cooked thoroughly by the time the recipe finishes. So at this stage we'll only cook like 60% of the eggplant, because we don't want it to go too mushy because we are going to leave it in the sauce to simmer for about 20 minutes as well, so it picks up all the flavors. We have to just get the perfect balance between cooking the eggplants right, not leaving it raw, but also not overcooking it. That's the most important things with the eggplants, because if they're left raw, they don't taste very nice, and if they're too mushy, they don't taste very nice as well. But the trick is the D shape of it. When it loses the shape, it tells you that the eggplant is being cooked. So here it's still keeping its shape a bit, so it's only 60% cooked here, and that's exactly what we wanted. I've put my nicely chopped onion in the pan. I'll saute the onion nicely in the same oil, the leftover oil from the shallow frying of the eggplants. You can deep fry the eggplants, but I mean, I didn't want to make it too unhealthy, you know. I'm trying to, like, I was doing a vegetarian dish to be to keep it healthy, so I didn't want to kill the purpose, you know, by deep frying it. The tomatoes go in there, half a cup of water, and I'm just going to put the lid on top, so the tomatoes, I can get a good puree out of the tomatoes. Do like open the lid and just check on your tomatoes, so like, you know, they don't burn or they stick to the pan. I did have to, so I just took this opportunity to remove the skin. The skin, like I've said before, doesn't go very nice with the with the curries. That one of the reasons I like to cut my tomatoes just half, like big chunks, is so I can easily remove the skin when I need to. Now I'm just going to, like, I've taken the skin off, I'm just going to, like, you know, break them a bit, turn them into small pieces, and then put half a cup of water and just put the lid on top and let it turn into a puree. It took me about 1.5 cups of water to make sure that the tomatoes were cooked and turned into a nice puree. It is a good idea to make the puree fresh, out of fresh tomatoes. You could use the puree that you get from the shops, but I find that it ruins the taste a bit. It's important in, like, you know, Pakistan Indian veggies that you use the fresh tomatoes. The tomatoes do make or break the flavor of your curry. Now I'm just going to do I've just put the lid on top again. I'm just going to make sure that the tomatoes have given me a nice puree. It took me about 10 minutes to make sure that I've got enough, I've got a nice puree from the tomatoes. Now we want to have a nice puree, but we also don't want to have the water in the tomatoes, because we want to put even though our spices are already roasted, but we do want to, like, you know, roast everything together on medium to high heat. So I'm just gonna, like, you know, after it gives me a puree, I'm just gonna make sure all the water evaporates from the tomatoes as well. So this is about this is exactly how you want it, like not enough water. So I'll put 1 tablespoon of ginger garlic paste in there and cooked it on medium to high heat for about like not even a minute, and continuously just taking the opportunity to turn any break any chunks of tomato. After that, I'm going to put the masala in there, like all pretty much every, like all the whole of it, the mixture of peanuts, desiccated coconut, sesame seeds, and all the spices that we put in. They were the right amount for this recipe, so all of that goes in. Now because there's peanuts in there, like, you know, it's very water hungry, water thirsty, I must say. So quite a bit of water will go into this recipe. I'm just going to mix it properly, and just, like, you know, my spices are already roasted, so I'm not really worried about roasting them, but I do want to, like, you know, mix them together and get a homogeneous mix of it. So once I think that is ready, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of yogurt in there. The flavor of this recipe are you can say like a little slightly sour, slightly sweet, not really sweet, it is savory, but a little bit of sour. It tastes good when there's a little bit of sourness to it. So the yogurt, the mango powder, and some lemon that we'll add in the end will help us to get that. I'll put 1 cup of water in there to turn it into nice gravy, and because we've like ground everything earlier and turned it into a powder, it'll just give us a very nice gravy. Once I get the gravy, this is pretty much it's pretty much ready. I'll let it simmer for a little bit, but I'm going to let it simmer with the eggplants as well. So I'm just going to mix it to make sure there are no lumps. I'm sure there won't be any lumps, but I'm just making sure that it's mixed properly. I'm going to put the lid on top for a little bit just to let it simmer so it's ready for the eggplants. Now this is the stage where you want to adjust the amount of salt and the amount of sourness that you want to it. So I found it, I tasted it. I usually taste all of my recipes to adjust for the salt, and I've also added 1 teaspoon of lemon because I thought, like, I found that 1 teaspoon of mango powder was not, mango powder by the way is amchur, the 1 teaspoon of mango powder was not enough for me. But my husband doesn't like it very sour, so I just put a little bit of lemon in there. 1 cup of water, like this, it will, like the peanuts will keep drinking water, so I had to add 1 more cup of water, so I have enough excuse me, gravy for the eggplants to simmer in, and your 60% cooked eggplants go in there. And you just the chili that we've poured, like, I didn't want it to be too spicy, so I didn't cut it, but I do want the flavor of the chili in there, so I'm just going to leave the chili in there while it simmers, so it picks up, the gravy will pick up the flavor from the chili as well, from the green chili. Now I'm just going to leave it for 20 minutes to simmer on low heat, and this is pretty much ready after 20 minutes. Altogether it took me 40 minutes. I'll put some coriander on top, and you can see the oil has separated. That's a sign that it's all cooked. The gravy is nicely cooked. The curry is ready to be served. I'm just going to put it in a bowl, and I served it with chapati. I loved it. My husband loved it. My son ate a bit of eggplant. He wasn't a big fan of it. Like, some days he eats veggies, and I'd say food, like some days are good days, but some days are just bad days where he doesn't eat that much. So this was the day when he only ate the roti, but the eggplant turned out very good. Please do try the recipe. Let me know if you like it. Inshallah, I'll come back with another recipe, inshallah. Until then, take care. Assalamu alaikum. Allah Hafiz. Bye.